Hello there, my very good friends. Andy Murray here for What Culture Wrestling. And look, I know a lot of you don't exactly like it when we get critical about WWE, and to be fair, there is a lot of really good stuff going on in the company at the moment. We've got Kevin Owens, Becky Lynch, the 24/7 title, Kofi Kingston, all kinds of great stuff. But if we're being honest, there's a lot wrong with it as well. The viewership is still absolutely minging, live attendances are cratering, very few people feel like legitimate stars, and the storylines, well, they've rarely been so homogenized or repetitive. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I could go on and on and on. But when you think about these problems, when you gather them together and consider what caused them, or in some cases what made them worse, it all falls back to one day in recent WWE history. Let's dive into it. In his last TV match before being released by WWE, Jinder Mahal fell to Los Matadores' sidekick El Torito in a silly little comedy match. It was the May 27th, 2014 episode of SmackDown, and it lasted less than 2 minutes. At that point in time, Mahal's character was deemed so worthless by the promotion that they didn't even bother using him to give someone the rub, to put over someone of value on the way out. There was just no point to it. Jinder was essentially used as a warm-up opponent for Torito ahead of a mask versus hair match with Hornswoggle, and throughout the bout he attacked Torito's tail because El Torito, lest we forget, was a cow. Anyway, Mahal ended up losing via moonsault. A sparse 2-year run on the independents followed. Mahal barely got booked anywhere of note, and when he returned to WWE in 2016, he didn't fare a whole lot better. He was jobbing out to the likes of Sin Cara and Darren Young on Main Event. Then, on the main roster, he ended up forming a weird jobber tag team with Rusev, coming off an origin story that really made no sense while Rusev was feuding with Enzo Amore and Big Cass. And then to top it off, at Fastlane 2017, he accomplished something truly remarkable. Jinder had a bad match with Cesaro. Fast forward to April 2017 and Jinder was jobbing out to Sami Zayn, Finn Balor and Mojo Rawley on WWE's flagship shows, coming in at a total of just 7 minutes and 50 seconds of ring time. The Jinder Egg became a jobber. He existed only to put over several mid-card fixtures and social experiments alike, and he did so as an enhancement talent. He was doing the job. But somehow, out of nowhere, just 1 week removed from losing to Rawley in just 3 minutes flat, something truly bizarre happened. Jinder Jobber Mahal, ended up overcoming Mojo Rawley, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Luke Harper and Eric Rowan in a #1 Contenders 6-pack challenge. Suddenly, he was a world title contender. A jobber had absolutely no business going anywhere near WWE title contendership, even under SmackDown's paper-thin guise as the land of opportunity. WWE is not a benevolent enterprise. It is, in fact, the blackly hilarious opposite of that. WWE, at its heart, is essentially just an organization out to sell tickets, and for some reason, they decided to risk all this by putting a gravestone cold jobber into the main event scene. So Mahal became #1 contender to the WWE Heavyweight Championship by pinning Sami Zayn with the help of 2 goobers who were later revealed as the Singh brothers. That interference at least poured some soil into the gaping pothole, but the rest was reserved for the grave that WWE had dug itself. Next week, Mahal ended up cutting a promo on WWE champion Randy Orton. That was a different Jinder, and let's make this clear before we really dive into it. Attacking the hard-working, good bloke behind his character really isn't the point of this editorial. We're breaking down the character and his push here. Jinder, to his credit, had gotten himself into vein-popping Vince McMahon shape. He was an absolute physical specimen, and also on top of that, he learned how to somewhat carry himself as a star, and he was cutting promos with composure. JBL would holler his Maharaja nickname with bluster, and Jinder had a great look, something Vince McMahon always loves. But at best, he was only ever an aspirational lower mid-card experiment. And in a moment of pure poetry, Jinder just wasn't ready on that very night. He actually raised the microphone to his lips and started speaking before his music had even cut out. And after that, he cut this blustering promo on Randy Orton for overlooking him. But why wouldn't Randy Orton, WWE legend, multi-time world champion, overlook a guy like Jinder Mahal? Over the coming weeks, Mahal and the Singh brothers continue to torment Randy ahead of a pay-per-view match that, in an alternative universe where the network didn't exist, would have surely bombed in terms of buy rate. And then, on May 21st, 2017, WWE changed forever. In the Backlash main event, Mahal ended up defeating Randy Orton in a match that was relatively competently worked, but cloaked in a really weird atmosphere of disbelief and anxiety. And at the end of it, the fandom barely even had time to register dread. Suddenly, Jinder Mahal was WWE champion. The cameras and the production team behind them captured reactions of shock and vague disgust. WWE had tried to create a real sense of meta heat around Mahal, this jobber suddenly ascended to main event level, but in the end, they received only apathy for their actions. And as WWE champion, Jinder ended up wrestling matches ranging from passable to damaging to disastrous. He cut these wildly unimaginative racist promos on Shinsuke Nakamura, who, incidentally, became emblematic of the broken NXT promotion system. On top of all of this, Jinder's reign essentially brought an end to the era of fan casting, and now fans on social media were more likely to knock up quick memes than they were dream matches for fantasy WrestleMania main events. Mahal winning the WWE Championship broke everything, including the belt itself. Now, I really enjoyed Kofi Kingston. I think his reign has been fantastic, and that match with Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania was absolutely wonderful. But it still means a whole lot less than it did back in May 2017 when Jinder took the title, and every metric shows that it is done as a drawing tool. Remember, this is a belt that Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels once destroyed their lives, their shoot lives, not just their kayfabe lives, in order to pursue. Steve Austin willed himself to his feet when he was close to paralyzed just because this belt was within touching distance. And after all that, 20 years later, it was handed to Jinder Mahal, all because he was a big sexy muscle man of Indian heritage. WWE in the era of the Maharaja became an artless, grinding pursuit of money over everything else. I mean, it probably always was that, but Vince McMahon had never been so brazen. Jinder was handed the title under the thinnest, most illogical pretext of capturing an emerging market. WWE were making the sausage right in front of our eyes, and they were doing it with raw, tainted, ugly meat. That same crude mentality, and you can get your bingo cards out for this one, would later drive WWE's relationship with the Saudi Arabia General Sports Authority. Jinder Mahal brought into focus all of WWE's modern ills. The company became a money-making enterprise and nothing else, with no pretense to the contrary. It was really repellent stuff. The audience were being trolled, and they responded by tuning out in incremental orders of magnitude. And another irritating thing that this reign did was break the credibility of referees. You know that twirly hands, you're out of here thing that referees do when heels are sparking shenanigans on the outside? Well, the Singh brothers were never once ejected, despite making a constant mockery of the rules. Meanwhile, a bit later on in the timeline, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens would raise the ire of Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon at the slightest hint of tomfoolery. No continuity. WWE put themselves under the microscope with this decision. By putting the belt on Jinder Mahal, they established themselves as an endeavour of just pure narrative bollocks. To prolong his reign, they stacked even more bollocks on top of the existing bollocks, and it ended up toppling down and crumbling over everything. A guy nobody cared about was WWE champion, and meanwhile, hordes of talented performers that the audience actually cared about and actually wanted to watch were toiling in obscurity. Jinder was a 1980s style foreign menace heel in presentation and the way he wrestled, and fittingly, in stepping back into the past to cast him as a top guy, WWE themselves went backwards. With Jinder Mahal's world title reign, WWE broke every rule and every pretense of rules in terms of the narrative and business. It provided something of an epiphany to loads of fans around the world. Nothing made sense anymore, and if not impossible, investment was absolutely pointless. Now, WWE weren't exactly on fire in 2017. I mean, Roman Reigns had bombed as the guy, the scripted promos were still lame, and those opening segments still sucked. But watching the company and investing, or trying to invest, had never been so futile. In betraying the tenets of fiction so appallingly, WWE were telling us that they could do whatever the hell they wanted, and what they wanted was comically antagonistic. So here we are, 2019, poring over a company in which literally nothing that happens in the narrative sphere matters. It doesn't matter if you're over, because once the WrestleMania buzz dies down, there's always a Lacey Evans or Baron Corbin waiting in the wings to cool you off for good. On the subject of Mania, WWE have desecrated its most sacred institution by absolutely gorging itself. Now, it isn't quite yet a nonsensical, artless pursuit of money, but it's nowhere near as special as it used to be. Before his recent surgery, Mahal was last seen scurrying around backstage as another faceless chaser in the 24/7 championship, fulfilling even the most cynical prophecies after he won the belt. He fell from grace almost as quickly as he ascended, and now Jinder is lucky to make television even for a mad 10-second dash around R-Truth. His world title reign was a weird aberration in itself, but it defined WWE as a company out of time, out of touch, and most pointedly, out of fuck. In conclusion, May 21st, 2017 was the day WWE sold its soul. And nobody bought it. So that's it, guys, my take done, your takes now. Head down to the comment section, fire those off, let us know what you think, even if you liked Jinder's title reign, you little weirdos. Once you've done that, please head over to whatculture.com and check out the wonderful article on which this piece is based, written by my master, Michael Sidgwick. If you don't do it, he's probably gonna batter me. So yeah, please do that. Once you've done that, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. Then you can follow us at WhatCultureWWE on Twitter and myself at Andy H. Murray. Bye bye.